Okay, Monday, March 22nd. This is the third time I'm trying to do this. And yes, I still have a raspy voice.
What's with your voice?
Oh, I spent the afternoon screaming at a patient.
But, as my buddy always says, day without laughs, and you're getting cheated.
Right.
Naked grandma!
I'll share my excursion. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but if you remember, I had told the story back, I don't know, God, it has to be a month ago now, about the dude who came around the corner here on this bike, and the tree was across the path, and, you know, I'm not going to do it again, but it was a funny story. They all kind of had a cartoon moment, you know what I mean? Well, that's where I was just standing and walking towards to start my next video. And this bike comes whizzing by me, you know. So then it happens again. And the third time, I'm standing there, kind of invisible, to see what was coming. And all of a sudden, this bike just comes. I was like, oh! Oh, God, I laughed. You know, I thought it was funny. Payback for thinking it was funny when those other guys had their moment, you know. Anyway, Monday, March 22nd. Beautiful out here today, however. I know we have geoengineered weather going on across the world, particularly Australia right now, getting bombarded with the worst flooding ever. Gee, destroying a bunch of crops. But you know, they're really gonna fuck up. They have fucked up. Oop, if I don't trip now for laughing again. They already have fucked up. And man, are they really gonna fuck up the food supply chain over the next 6 months to a year, 3 months to 12 months. As they kick this up into higher gear, with the variants, of course, overseas going to make their way here. Lockdowns, the push for forced, more of a push for forced inoculations, the blame game. Oh, it's your fault. Oh, no, it's your fault. Oh. You know, where everybody looks and forgets about the rights of individual choice, that each individual person has what they want to put into their body and what they want to do if their actions do not initiate harm against another sentient being. Because if we came together around that and the understanding of how immoral all of this is, how immoral the belief in authority and government has proven to be, if you didn't believe it before, by the way things are being forced now and enforced around the world by perceived authority. You can't see where this is going. Just go back a year ago and ask yourself a year ago, if you knew then we'd be here a year later, would you have still believed it all and went with it all and not questioned anything and hoped, going with the 2 weeks? If you knew that a year we'd have kids in school being trained like animals, treated like animals, split apart, subjugated, suffocated, putting all that shit on their hands every 2 minutes, and soon to be the COVID pass vaccine requirement. And whose fault is all this? It sure ain't the kid's fault. It's not the 8-year-olds going to school, is it, Mom and Dad? No, it's your fault.
Might suggest that your aversion to vegetables stems from some early childhood trauma. You sputtered, my darling?
It's your fault. It isn't the people that made the law's fault. It's not even the people that's really enforcing it, although it is the people that made the law's fault and the people that are enforcing it. It's your fault. for going along with it. You know, to be a kid today, like my son's going to be 15, and to make the decision, you know, not to be around your peers is not an easy decision. One of his friends is talking about, because, you know, he'll be in high school next year, theoretically, we'll see what happens, about going back to school, you know, because my son is not attending school because he's not wearing a mask all day. He's going over the computer, just like his friend, who his friend is in a public school, and both of them next year will be in public high school. Theoretically, again, would be, because they ain't gonna be. Well, at least my son probably. But I do leave things up to him. I'm not going to try to be the boss of him. I know what's best for him. I'm going to try to do my best to explain that and teach that and be that, like I have my whole life. And he'll make the right choice just like he did this year, you know. But his friend was saying to him while I was driving them home from football the other day, because they play in a league, a state league, still. So my son is still playing. You know, next year I'm going to school. I'm not staying home. And, you know, what about you? What are you doing? You know, my son says, well, you know, we'll see what's going on with the masks, you know. And his friend says, well, I don't care. I gotta go. I gotta get out of the house. I'm sick of being home. See, this is what they're doing, you know. And of course, I could see my son, like, he wants to be with his friends, you know. Kids don't want to fucking be in school all day. They just want to be with their peers. It's what you remember from school mostly. Those memories that are being robbed, you know, from him and many others, you know, indoctrinated environment or not. The indoctrination really only takes place by the credence put into that system by the parents, in my opinion. But if you as a parent are not adding to that and getting involved in that learning process and not afraid to realize it is an indoctrinative process and not be afraid to not give all this credence to the school, like, ooh, you got an A, ooh, you're in the top, ooh, what'd the teacher say? All that kind of shit that parents do. Believe me, I don't. You know, the process of really learning takes place. Wanting to learn and knowing how to learn takes place if taught properly at home. And then the environment of being around their peers, you know, all day. So to be a kid in this environment, it's really suck if you think back to being a kid. At least when I was a kid, when I was his age, nobody knew what the hell I was doing, where the hell I was in my parental, you know, watch over periods, you know. As long as I was outside and home before dinner or home before the lights, street lights, it was fine, you know. And, you know, you lived life. You went out, things happened, you dealt with it on your own. These kids are really losing that, and now to have this on top of it. Of course, why are these kids losing it? Because parents are afraid of every damn thing. They don't let them go out and do anything. Even before all this, you know, everybody's raising little pansies that just do what they're told, and they're afraid of everything, because that's how a lot of parents are. Because this goes way beyond the pandemic. I mean, that is one chess move, maybe a couple. The bigger picture has been going on here, of course, visibly since 9/11. As I've said many times, you don't get to live in the world and see such an event take place, surrounded by such lies, and then go on with your life and pretend it didn't happen while thousands of people died ritualistically in an event that is clearly, all you have to do is look at and realize that free fall is impossible, let alone all the other proof of the occurrences of that day. You don't get to live in a world where that happens. The people responsible still stay in power, and then you go about your life with your freedoms. That's not how it works. Not just karmically, but logically. You don't get to ignore that kind of evil and then stay untouched by it. So, the fact that you are here to say no to evil, and the second now most visible event since 2001 is taking place before your eyes. This crazy ass pandemic full of bullshit that anyone can see it, just like that event. Now the difference, of course, that event put people into an immediate, out of nowhere state of trauma and fear and fight or flight. So their subconscious behavior, there was no logical thought going on, and most people weren't at home going right away, false flag, look, I can't. Most people, like myself, were traumatized by it. And in that state, that mind state. But once the dust settled, the information started surfacing. Once someone looks at it, there's no denying it. The question is, how long will you deny yourself looking at it? But regardless, now we moved into the second most visible. I mean, I would say Project for New American Century is in there. That's triggered by the 9/11 event, but still, that's been going on for the past 2 decades. But this visible lie has surfaced once again in the form of this pandemic. If we ignore this one, do you really think you get to live your life untouched? Do you really think that you get to just go along with, freedoms and all this is going to go away? It's all going to go back to normal. You're going to plunge yourself with the miracle jab. You're going to point your fingers. People that won't. You're going to let it get worse. Keep pointing the fingers. Not speaking out, pointing the fingers. Till there's no one left. And they're coming for you as well. We're going to do and say what's right. We're going to pull our kids from these schools. We're going to do what we can to educate them to make the right choice. This is all up to me and you and everybody else. And if we continue to go down this path of ignorance and apathy, they'll have their way. It's already in motion. But if we realize the strength of truth, how weak the lie is, that liberation from the truth is it's a simple choice. If we don't choose to do that by our own actions and then encouraging others to do it in numbers, then it's going to be a hell on earth. Hell of our own making, building an acceptance of. Whether partaking in it to make money, knowingly, enslaving the world, or partaking in it by making money knowingly, but I have to feed my family. I am a teacher. I am a medical person. I am a cop. I am a military person. I am, a Wawa building manager or a Walmart greeter who makes sure people don't come in. All these things. This remains to be seen in the greatest story ever told. This epic tale that has not ended yet. Every great movie has a dramatic build-up to where the fucking bad guys look like they're going to take over and humanity's going to make the wrong choice, or the good guys are going to fail, or whatever it is. And in the end, people do the right thing. Now, of course, in the movies, that task is externalized to a hero, individualized superhero, or a warrior of history. But the bottom line is that it's done through the individual and then through the collective. We are our own superhero. We are who we've been waiting for. No one's coming. No one is manipulating the chessboard except for the grandmasters of this world of chess, who are on an evil pathway, and the pawns, that is all of us, just getting knocked off the board and moved around to make their master plan and agenda give them the checkmate they're looking for. It's the only control going on right now. You have control of your own actions, not to fall for it. not to fall for the banana in the tailpipe, to see that strange things are afoot at the Circle K, and then care enough to do something about it, starting with not complying with your own slavery, and then speaking that to others, and being that in the world, and encouraging others to be that. I don't know, man. But again, this is why you're here. So, whether or not, why I'm here, why you're here, why we should be teaching our kids, whether or not you want to realize that is up to you. How much you love your kids is up to you. So, if you care about yourself enough first, you have to do that in order to care about your kids. People think they care about their kids by protecting them and pumping them full of things to be afraid of and be careful of so they stay safe. Meanwhile, they're in the world defenseless and useless, mind, spirit, and physically. And they're just fodder. And they're the ones all walking around in fucking masks, by the way. Kids from 5 to 20. They're the ones walking around here anyway. Again, I've done some traveling. I'm in the cities. You see where they're wearing them, where they're not. The bottom line is the majority of people are going along with this bullshit. And if the majority of people continue to go along with this bullshit, they're going to get away with this bullshit. You know, no one said this was going to be easy. No one said this was going to be fun, but it's certainly adventurous if you realize who you are internally. That light is within all of us. Your job is to become it, not to wait for it to come save you or to worship it. It's to become that goodness in the understanding of true morality. What is objectively moral? What objectively is not a right? Which are things that cause, that initiate harm, I should say, to another being, to another sentient being, to another living being. The initiation of harm. That does include the belief in illusory authoritative entities that cause harm to the population, that you support and ignore that harm coming to others. There's a repercussion for that, you see. That's what people don't understand. They think they have the right to believe in these things, which is why they exist. And the fact that they exist is not a right, it's a wrong. It initiates harm through coercion and violence. From a traffic ticket to masks and inoculations, where we're headed soon to deny you food when you don't do those things and try to go in somewhere and eat. This is where it goes. Unless we, as moral individuals, say, no, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not supporting that. No, I understand that's wrong, and I'm not going to do it, and I'm going to stand in what is right. If we don't do those things as a people, then guess what? We are where we are. So believing in all that bullshit, whether or not you think it's right or wrong or real or strange things are afoot or a total conspiracy or gonna go away or not gonna go away or whatever you fucking think. But you know in here, some bullshit. You're not saying anything. Send your kids to school in masks. You're going everywhere in a mask. You're not speaking out at work. You're not speaking out on Facebook. You're not calling things out for what they are. You're not speaking out on the internet, on your social medias. You're not encouraging your kids to do the right thing because you're afraid. Then you are manifesting this. That's it. That's how it works. Think about that, if that's you. Anyway, I'm going to end it there. Love you guys. Get learning, get speaking.